everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
Jello Biafra for the Independent Media Center in the camcorder, Truth Jihad.
The only thing that's going to stop this is a militant demonstration against the city of San Francisco.
Hey, hey!
The movement is intending to fill the streets and reclaim the streets and reclaim the spaces that have been absolutely hijacked.
I think there's a lot of people here for how freezing cold it is out here. I'm really excited. I did not think there was going to be this many people. I'm just totally pumped.
The Northwest Detention Center is a private immigration prison facility located on the tide flats of Tacoma, Washington. The detention center opened in 2004 under a contract with the United States Department of Homeland Security. Though owners have changed over time, the facility is now owned by the Geo Group, which operates prison facilities in Australia, the UK, South Africa, the US, and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. A contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, the largest and primary investigative branch of Homeland Security, expanded the facility's housing capacity to 1,000 detainees, making it the largest detention center owned by the Geo Group on the West Coast. In 2003, ICE launched Operation Endgame, the largest police operation in U.S. history. Its goal? To remove all undocumented migrants from the U.S. by the year 2012. The project's predecessor, Operation Wetback, in 1954 removed 1.2 million Mexicans from the American Southwest. Since July 2007, raids have increased the number of detained migrants from 18,000 to 26,000 nationwide. Homeland Security relocates 700 detainees a week in the United States. Migrants in the facility in the Northwest are mostly from the regions of Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, and Washington. Due to an increase in raids, they've recently come from places like New York, Puerto Rico, and Guam. Nationwide, tens of thousands of children every year lose a parent to deportation. 85% of those detained don't have legal counsel, since they do not have a right to due process or protections against unlawful searches or seizures. After raids in the Northwest rounded up hundreds of migrant workers at a time from places like Auburn, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, a protest in solidarity with the No Borders Action Camp in Arizona took place in Tacoma at the same time. The march was not focused at the facility itself, which is tucked away unnoticed among shipping terminals and Superfund sites, but at the Wells Fargo Bank building, which invests in the Geo Group's operations worldwide.
All private property or you will be arrested.
Your white racist superior.
The immigrants who are down there in the detention center have a right to due process under the Constitution of the United States. George Bush has no right to hold him on a trial. Tear it down! Tear it down! Tear it down!
The march was labeled a Homeland Security threat and policed heavily. Police with cameras and less than lethal weapons intimidated protesters and suggested that local landlords evict the protest organizers from their homes. The march occupied an intersection for more than 10 minutes, circling from crosswalk to crosswalk until police used force. One woman taking pictures was arrested for spitting on the ground and then intimidated by police and bystanders. Another was arrested for disarming an officer, though that charge was later dropped.
The Geo Group is responsible for running the ICE Detention Center here in Tacoma. The Geo Group is also responsible for maintaining privatized prisons across the country. The increased incarceration
the leader cops told him if the person takes a step forward that they can arrest him. And then the person took a step back and the cop grabbed him and drug him away and arrested him.
Why are you changing? Hey!
As raids at job sites increased over the last years, members in the community seem to have noticed little. As purges in accordance with endgame increase, the Tacoma activist community is attempting to increase awareness about the facility's proximity and what it stands for.
Greater than justice, nothing less than justice will be acceptable. We're going to continue to protest until the facility down there at the Taj plant is dismantled. It's dismantled and it's gone. And the people who are there get their justice.
And until we stand up to police power, to the power of banks, and to the power of corporations, then we're never going to get anywhere. We need to have sustainable networks of communities dedicated to resistance against ICE, resistance to against fascist forces. Let's play some music.
Negotiator, police with not wearing the riot gear. He's wearing like a hat with a little badge on it, and then the rest are all riot gear. And the cops on the side don't have riot gear on it.
In the fields of bodies burning.
Wrong.
One thing that I want to do with this film is find other people that have been doing this and that know more about it.
Like, this is direct resistance to what the United States government wants me to do and requires me by law to do these things. Yeah. And I'm not going to do them.
I really like the whole idea that you were talking about, like communities of people that help each other.
They still believe in supporting the kinds of community and social programs that Texas supports. They just don't want to pay specifically for killing.
We're young and, we're part of somewhat of an activist community, people who really do feel that they want to participate in some way to change things that they see are wrong with this country.
I mean, if I ever meet an Iraqi in my life who's lived through this war, say 10 years down the road, I've got to be able to look them in the eyes and say, I did what I could. Yeah. And I did it with compassion for what our country was doing to you. I did it in the hopes that it would stop what our country is doing to you. I did what was risky to me. I don't think I could say that to somebody if I just went to like some protests and wrote a couple of letters to my Congress people.
That's really all. It's going to take a lot more actions like this and a lot more people like this to get this world in a place that is anywhere even approaching sustainable.
Our little babies right here running around, our young ones in the bounce house, we have to empower them and educate them.
Everybody out here is role models, whether you want to be or not. You need to show a little kid how to do dope, sell dope, gang bang, or you can show them the right way. And we don't read books, so they say. So we learn by watching. We learn by watching. That old do as I say and not as I do is crazy. We gonna do what you do.
But look here, we don't carry no weapons, but we've been taught and trained, man. The only weapons that we have is our mind. The mind created the bomb, man, that blows away the community. But we'll take your damn weapon and beat your backside with it. Don't get it twisted. But we don't have any weapons. The only weapon we have is truth.
We have to hold politicians accountable. You have to hold me accountable, I'm going to hold you accountable. We know that there's things going on in the hood that's not right. But you know what? We can make it right. You got to have hope. You got to believe that you can make a change.
Right.
Harambe.
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 That's a word from Africa. It means together.
I like that.
Let's pull together. Let's say it again. Harambe. For 10 years,
For 10 years in the city of Fresno, we've been trying to get an independent police officer. We have more black and brown men that's being shot in the back, unarmed. But our city council say that their constituency say that we don't need one because they don't care about you and your community. North of Shields, when the police pull you over, you don't sit on the curb. But south of Shields in the hood here, you at gunpoint and you on the curb. That has to stop. But when I go and do the eulogy, and your mother's looking at me with water in her eyes saying, why did they shoot my son in the back? And yet the police officer is still on the streets. Nobody out here can do something like that and get away with it. And so we have to understand today that we're saying enough is enough. We're going through the hoods now. We're going into the areas where the police have to come in with M16s because we believe today is a new day. And that we're saying enough is enough.
Don't tell me nothing about, well, when you were Louis Farrakhan, you were a separatist group. Like hell we are. Don't tell me about no separatism. When we came on those slave ships, we were at the bottom and you were on the top. Don't say to me that I'm a racist. I don't know anything about being a damn racist. I am not your government. All right. I am not those who occupy Iraq today. I am not those who occupy Africa today. Don't put that small-time stuff on Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and black people in general. We know nothing about being racist. We are the mothers and fathers of all people, black people, brown people, and white people. We are your mothers and your fathers. Like hell do we hate you? We know nothing about hating you. But you know a lot about hatred.
Our women are looking for you to stand up for them.
That's right.
I apologize to our women because the music industry has degraded you. Calling you, can I talk straight?
Straight, brother.
Calling you hoes and people getting paid big money for that. Calling you a B and they making big money for that.
We got this school together on our own. We thank everybody for their donations and everything. But we just want to be, recognized for kings that we are and not no dog pound, because this is not the dog pound. This is the King Thunderbird. So, I know because I was born and raised over here. This is the King Thunderbird. Everybody that live over here are kings. Okay, we are kings. We're not no dog pound. We're kings. Okay, so we're going to get that out here for everybody to know that.
So you have to understand that our ancestors was brought over here on a slave ship, chained to one another, lynched, raped in this country. And look what we do now in the community. We kill one another. We use harsh words towards one another. We have to stop that. We have to stop that. Not by talk, but by action. And I'm not compromising with nobody. It's either right or it's wrong. And those are the principles that National Network in Action stands on. Because we're going to go through these communities. And I never seen nobody turn somebody down when they have an open arm and say that we love you.
We will break it down. Once you see us, you will talk about us. We will break it down. Once you see us, you will talk about us.
All it is.
come from many places all over this wide world, looking for a way to make our living. But the streets aren't paved with gold, and service master is cheap, I'm told. It's just $28 a day.
We want to give you a little update on what's been happening with the no-match letters on the level of the judges' decisions today. And here to do that, we want to welcome Marco Mejia from American Friends Service Committee.
And I'm going to read to you the update that the people that did the lawsuit handed out on the 10th of this month. And it says like that: a federal judge issued a preliminary order on October 10th stopping the enforcement, ensuring that the U.S. citizens and legal residents will not lose their jobs because of errors in the Social Security Administration database. The order prevents any implementation until the court makes a final ruling after trial of a new Department of Homeland Security rule punishing employers if they do not take action after receiving the Social Security no-match letter. U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer found that the government's proposal to disseminate no-match letters affecting more than 8 million workers will, under the mandated timeline, result in the termination of employment to lawful employed workers. The judge also found that if allowed to proceed, the mailing of no-match letters accompanied by the Department of Homeland Security's guidance letter would result in irresponsible harm to innocent workers and employers. This is a significant step towards overturning this unlawful rule, which would give employers an even stronger way to keep workers from freely forming unions. That's what said the president of the AFL-CIO. More than 70% of Social Security Administration discrepancies refer to U.S. citizens. Today's preliminary injunction comes as a result of a lawsuit filed in August by the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, AFL-CIO, and the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, the National Immigration Law Center, and the Central Labor Council of Alameda County, along with other local labor movements.
Today we went with a group of delegates from the Workers' Rights Board to go and talk to the Social Security Administration. And we wanted to know a couple of things. We wanted to know if this happens, because yes, it's tied up in the courts right now, but there's still a possibility that it's going to happen. If this happens, how is it going to affect the Social Security Administration? How is it going to affect everyday citizens? And then also we wanted this delegation to go and talk about how is it going to affect all of our constituencies. So we're going to invite them each to come and speak about how it affects their constituencies, but also our experience today. So we went to deliver them this letter. The letter is here. It's basically a no-match letter for Social Security Administration. A no-match that says that they have numbers that don't match up. And there are tons of errors, and sort of the implications of what happens with these numbers. So it's basically what it says is it's a poor use of our taxpayer money. It was created to make sure that workers get their Social Security benefits. It was never created to be an enforcement mechanism. And that's what Homeland Security wants to use it for. They want to attach another letter onto this letter that scares employers, that scares employees about what this letter means, which is just supposed to be to fix errors in the system. And so that's what we tried to do with this letter, to let them know that this was an inappropriate use of their horrendous amount of errors that are in their system. So we tried to get an appointment. We were bounced around from PR person to administrator to PR person to administrator. We didn't get the appointment, but the last PR person did say that any citizen can go to an office, ask to speak to an administrator, and if they have time, they'll come speak to us. So we thought we would go for it. When we got there, there was 2 police officers, one from Homeland Security, one from the city of Portland, to let us know that we were not allowed to, and no worker in the office would be allowed to speak to us either. So we asked him if we could give him the letter and maybe he could relay the information to them. He said no, that was not going to be okay. More transpired, and I do want to let the other delegates tell you about their experience in this process. Eventually, an officer went to take a phone call. We were able to get inside and deliver the letter, and so that's good. They do have the letter. I think we should be giving these letters out to every office in Portland. There's a lot of them.
I have to admit, what I just witnessed was both comedic and very sad. It was comedic in the way that we were treated reminded me of the TV show Hogan's Heroes, because I kept hearing, we know nothing, we see nothing, we hear nothing, you know, we're just not gonna let you in the door. I think the other part of it that was extremely sad is we were met by two people in black from Homeland Security that says, we don't care that you're American citizens. We don't care that you're here to express your feelings. We don't care, and you don't have any right to be here. And that message was shared loud and clear, and that's a very sad day for any democratic country and a person in a democratic country to experience that.
Yeah, that's right.
The reason why I came out today is because many of our members every morning, some of them are American citizens by birth, some are by naturalization, some are of other various types of documentation in various places in the process. But because they are Latinos, they kiss their babies every morning before they go to work because they are afraid that they're not going to be able to come home at night. And I don't care what your status is, no human being should have to do that, no child should have to experience that, and no parent should have to be able to be put in that position in order to put food on the table for their families.
That's right.
It is absolutely imperative that we take control of our governments, whether it be our city government, our state government, and our federal government, and say that the status quo ain't no good no more.
I think that it's important for us to think that, and I'm sorry if I call it the enemy, but the adversary for workers' rights, it has a lot of tools, yeah, as my brother said, yeah. And sometimes they use some tools for us to last focus on what we want. And they are using this tool now to take it away from our fight to get a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants in this country. And don't let them to do that. We are, and I keep saying that we are in a different stage of the fight for immigrants' rights in this country. We have marches, we have thousands of people on the street, but now they are fighting back to us. And we need to help our undocumented member friends to come out of the shadows and fight back with us too. Thank you.
Time is running out.
I think that persuasive case is there now, but they're not cooperating.
Not testing whether something can be found. It's about weapons inspectors hunting and pecking all over the country.
First they said no, then they said planes only. Now we hear 15,000 troops. The problem is we wanted 80,000 troops.
Yeah. Should diplomatic push finally come to military shove? And that seems now to be drawing closer. On Sunday, the US brought out the biggest guns of its administration.
We understand the impact that could have.
An attack on Iraq, Persian Gulf War II, the sequel.
But the attack already beginning.
You're running up against a huge, massive military force that's heading into your crib.
Because we know from a defector that the United States, the evil Satan, is bearing down on it.
Northwest Detention Center is a private immigration prison facility located on the tide flats of Tacoma, Washington. The detention center opened in 2004 under a contract with the United States Department of Homeland Security. Though owners have changed over time, the facility has raids have increased the number of detained migrants from 18,000 to 26,000 nationwide. Homeland Security relocates 700 detainees a week in the United States. Migrants in the facility in the Northwest are mostly from the regions of Oregon, Idaho, Alaska, and Washington. Due to an increase in raids, they've recently come from places like New York, Puerto Rico, and Guam. Nationwide, tens of thousands of children every year lose a parent to deportation. 85% of those detained don't have legal counsel, since they do not have a right to due process or protections against unlawful searches or seizures. After raids in the Northwest rounded up hundreds of migrant workers at a time from places like Auburn, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, a protest in solidarity with the No Borders Action Camp in Arizona took place in Tacoma at the same time.
Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, all the people don't have justice, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
Jello Biafra for the Independent Media Center and the camcorder Treat Jihad.
The only thing that's going to stop this is a militant demonstration against the city of San Francisco.
Hey, hey!
The movement is intending to fill the streets and reclaim the streets and reclaim the spaces that have been absolutely hijacked.
I think there's a lot of people here for how freezing cold it is out here. I'm really excited. I did not think there was going to be this many people. I'm just totally pumped.
Now owned by the Geo Group, which operates prison facilities in Australia, the UK, South Africa, the US, and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. A contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, the largest and primary investigative branch of Homeland Security, expanded the facility's housing capacity to 1,000 detainees, making it the largest detention center owned by the Geo Group on the West Coast. In 2003, ICE launched Operation Endgame, the largest police operation in U.S. history. Its goal? To remove all undocumented migrants from the U.S. by the year 2012. The project's predecessor, Operation Wetback, in 1954 removed 1.2 million Mexicans from the American Southwest. Since July 2007, the march was not focused at the facility itself, which is tucked away unnoticed among shipping terminals and Superfund sites, but at the Wells Fargo Bank building, which invests in the Geo Group's operations worldwide.
All private property or you will be arrested.
Your white racist superior.
The immigrants who are down there in the detention center have a right to due process under the Constitution of the United States. George Bush has no right to hold him on a trial. Tear it down! Tear it down! Tear it down!
The march was labeled a Homeland Security threat and policed heavily. Police with cameras and less than lethal weapons intimidated protesters.